Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and this time I bring you a review, kind of a review of the DVD, but I'll be talking about the movie as well. A film that you should not have your date see. Don't see on a date. If you want to know, ask my friend Effrey. He saw this on a date, and because of that, the girl left, and he did not get his blowjob, which is a shame. Because from what I heard, the girl had a lot of good hooters on her. But as Maniac, I warned you not to go out tonight. Just like I warned you not to see this movie with a date. But of course, this is the 30th anniversary edition of Maniac from Blue Underground. Very memorable poster. Now, how to talk about this film? Before I go into the DVD, go into the film itself, one quick note, without having to do anything, this is just about for my subscribers. If you may notice, real quick, I did a review of RoboCop 3 that's no longer on there now because they decided to put a copyright claim on the piece of music I used at the end from Stallone's film Over the Top. They put a copyright claim, and I tried to edit it, and the video manager thing isn't working, so I had to basically delete the video. So I'll re-review that one day down the road, but fuck you, YouTube, and fuck you, copyright claims. But anyway, that's how it goes. Back to this film. Basically, you have Joe Spinell. Joe Spinell's a guy who, he's been in quite a few films. He was in little bits roles in The Godfather, Rocky, Nighthawks, many other films, Joe Spinell. And he plays a guy named Frank Zito. And it takes place in New York. And it's about him. It's about him, his thoughts, and his exploits. And you get the idea that maybe he was abused as a kid by his mother. That, you know, he has these mannequins in his home, and he talks to himself, and he's of a deranged mind. And then you have little bits in the film where he sort of gets into a relationship with a girl played by Caroline Munro, which you don't really buy them two hooking up. For me, that's one of the faults of the film, but leading to a very weird ending where he gets hurt by the female hero who escapes. He goes back home. He has this weird ass dream where his victims like pull him apart, and then you have a sort of an ending that's sort of a kind of like a sequel bait ending. People are, oh, you spoiled it. The film is 30 years old at least, okay? It's over 30 years old. I mean, come on. It's not like, oh my god, you know, now let's go and ruin the film. It's not. But I can't say I enjoy this film. I can say I like the film. And right then, I know people are going to say, Matt, wait a minute. You're the guy who complained about Inside. You complained about Martyrs. You complained about a Serbian film. I know there's going to be people saying, well, you can't complain about those, but not this. Sorry, I am. Deal with it. I think Maniac is a better film than those movies. I can see, though, like, if Michael Keaton would watch this and utterly hate it, I would not really, can't really complain to people if they absolutely despise this film. My friend Effrey hates this film to this day. Not only because it made him lose a blowjob, but because, you know, I think because he lives in New York, and, you know, he knows there's people there who live where he's at. Probably next door, probably in his apartment building. And a guy named like Frank Zito, Joe Spinell, probably lives right next door. You know, so when he sleeps at night, he's wondering who, you know, the guy across the street or in his apartment building is going to, you know, go out tonight. Sorry, trying to freak him out. But, you know, he lives in New York, and what I like about this film is Joe Spinell, who I know my friend Mike said he's a schlub of a man, but he does a great job acting-wise, performance-wise. You really buy that he's crazy, he's insane, and I appreciate Joe Spinell's performance. The score by Jay Chataway, I think he did Maniac Cop as well. And this is from the same director, William Lustig, who would go on to do Maniac Cop 1, 2, and 3, Vigilante, I think he did a film called Uncle Sam, Relentless, I think he did. But Joe Spinell is a really, I think, did a solid acting job. You really bought him as a maniac. I do think the film definitely has a realistic tendency to it. And again, going back, this film, it doesn't have babies being raped. Women get killed, but it's not 10 minutes long of him chopping someone for 10 minutes, you know? He's not cutting out babies out of a woman's stomach. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, you know, I guess some people just have their lines. For me, a woman getting her baby cut out of her stomach, like Inside, or Mars, where the woman get the shit kicked out of her for 50 minutes, and plus the plot doesn't make any sense in that film to me. I'm sorry. I don't understand how you have these millions of dollars and all these hundreds of people for this one project of making a woman or a person go so far tortured that they supposedly will see God. And it's like, why would they not just make shit up or hallucinate? If you're that far gone from torture, your mind's fucked up. Why would you not just make up shit? Or lie? Or hallucinate? How the fuck do they know that you're telling the truth? You're skinned alive. So thus you gotta be telling the truth. No. It means, you know, if I took acid and said I saw Jesus, you know, hanging out with Turner and Hooch, or I saw fucking the devil uh, doing fucking miniature golf with Beavis and Butthead, that doesn't mean it's actually happening. It just means I'm fucked up. So, I mean, but that film I didn't care for. I didn't care for the acting. I didn't care for anything. Same thing with the Serbian film. I didn't care about anything in the film, let alone this, though. I mean, it does have very graphic violence. It does have very graphic violence by Tom Savini. You know, women gets, you know, scalped, stabbed through the back. I think the guy who gets it the worst, which is what they don't mention, is a guy is the one who gets it the worst. Tom Savini himself gets a fucking shotgun, double barrel shotgun blast in the face. That's probably the most crazy death scene in the film. It's not on a woman, it's on a guy. Which I'll get to, but it's definitely a very violent film. And I like the special effects. I think they're good special effects. Doesn't mean I like seeing people get killed in real life, you know, and you know, I'm not a guy who's going to go out and see traces of death and stuff like that. It means I like good special effects. How you have nothing and you create something, and it looks like real. I think Tom Savini did a good job with it. Same with Friday the 13th. But I think that's another thing. Maniac is definitely a different feel from other slasher films where the atmosphere of New York, the scummy streets, the dark, foreboding atmosphere, the score by Jay Chataway has that exploitation feel to it. I think that's why a lot of people hated this film when it came out, not only because of the graphic violence. I think it felt real to people. It felt very real to people. I think, like my friend Effrey, I think that's the reason why he doesn't like it, is he lives in New York. And Tom Savini said it best. You know, you have your Jasons and your Freddys and stuff like that. They sort of, you know, become fantasy. There are real guys like Francito out there. You know, Gacy, Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, you know. There are real guys like that out there. So I thought the score was well done. The atmosphere is very foreboding. It's very unsettling. But I think the director William Lustig had more up his sleeve than just the gore. Believe me, the gore is crazy. But there are gore movies that I think are pieces of shit. Gutter Balls, I fucking hate Gutter Balls, and that's gory as hell. But this, the music, the acting by Joe Spinell, the atmosphere, the cinematography. I mean, they had a low budget, but it definitely has an exploitation feel to it. I didn't think the film was that long. It's 80 some minutes long. I know it's under 90, yeah, 88 minutes long. Uh, I don't know. It's a film that, again, I can't say I enjoy it, but I'm like, okay, it did what it had to do and it achieved it, and it didn't need babies getting raped. I don't know how to describe it. Um, but I can understand if someone didn't like it. But if you ever see this film, like if I don't Michael Keane, if he sees this film, he'd probably be appalled by it. I could understand it. So it's not a film. Oh, it's fun, Don't invite your date, Michael. Don't have your date see this movie. Don't have your girls see this movie if you ever see it. Definitely don't have your kids. And do not watch this movie on a date. It's gonna kill the mood as well as make you dick limp. It's not a fun movie. But Maniac, I appreciate that it definitely felt like a real, like this could really happen. And in the subways and in the street night, and Joe Spinell's performance is very solid. The music, even this poster is very eye-catching. Which I know the star Joe Spinell got pissed because they told him he was going to be on the poster, and obviously, first off, they gave him quite a bulge. He's got a big dick. And second off, his face is not on the poster, but it's definitely a famous poster. It's so famous that Eli Roth ripped it off, or was it Hostel or Hostel 2? I think Hostel, some of the foreign posters, I think. He basically ripped this poster off. So good job, Eli. But this is the 2-disc, which I had another edition, an older one, but this one I decided to get because it had more features, and I'm interested in the features. I am a guy who I do get interested in special features, especially if it's a film I really am interested in. Especially this low budget filmmaking, which I think they made like for I don't know, it's between $50,000 and $200,000. But for features, this has 2 audio commentary tracks. One I haven't listened to yet, with William Lustig and producer Andrew W. Garoni. That's new for this one. And then the other commentary tracks from the older one, William Lustig with Tom Savini, editor Lorenzo Marinelli, and Joe Spinell's friend Luke Walter. Because Joe Spinell passed away in 1989, I believe. Very interesting about the backstory, about how they were filming a scene where at this hotel that was supposed to have this hooker who gets killed, but in real life there actually happened to be a hooker who got killed. Let's see. There's a Joe Spinell at one time thought of a crazy idea, like, hey, what if I bite this woman's clitoris off? They're like, no, fuck no. What are you talking about? No. See, at least William Lustig knew when to hold back. Unlike some filmmakers today. I give William Lustig that much. And I think you can kind of tell that the guy sometimes he has mixed feelings on the blood. Which it's understandable. I mean, it is a shocking film to me. It is a disturbing film, but it goes that thin line, and I thought it handled it better than the films that do it today, like Martyrs or Inside or a Serbian film. I think this film kicks the Serbian film's ass. I'm sorry. Joe Spinell could get the fuck out anybody in a Serbian film. I'll say that. That's what they should do. Frank Zito, Joe Spinell reincarnated, beat the shit out of all those fuckers in a Serbian film. I warned you not to go out tonight. You like touching babies? Scalping them and shoving them up their asses. That's a movie that you could do. I'd see that movie. But I think even Efri would see that movie, my friend. Frank Zito fucked up everybody in a Serbian film. I think he'd even see that film. Because Joe Spinell, and before I get to that, Joe Spinell is a really solid actor. And he has some interviews on here with Caroline Munro. You have an interview with Tom Savini. Fun little bit where he said that these they went to the premiere and these two kids came up and wanted to talk to Tom Savini. He said, "Oh, go, we're doing our film, and could you, Mr. Savini, come up and see it?" And it was Sam Raimi, Rob Tapert, and they showed Tom Savini a little bit of The Evil Dead. Thought that was kind of fun. They have an interview with the composer Jay Chataway. They also have an interview with songwriters Michael Sembello and Dennis Makowski. It's called Maniac Men. Probably the best feature on this because there's been a rumor, urban legend, and I thought it was true for a while, that the song in Flashdance, she's a maniac, maniac, that song was written for Maniac. Well, you find out the real story, and to sum it up, and it's a really hilarious featurette. But how I think it was either Michael Sembello or Des Bukowski, one of them. Mainly, it was that they had heard about how Gacy and all this stuff, and so he decided to write lyrics, and he actually came up with lyrics like, he's a maniac, he'll rape your wife and he'll kill your cat and nail it to the floor, and like he told his wife, and his wife said, "You're crazy. You need psych." I think she actually told him, "You need help. You need to see a doctor." So he told his buddy, and like they came up with like sort of the rhythm, and like the background of that song Maniac. Dun, 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 dun. I think they said, what if it was like a mongoloid with chopsticks? So that's how they came up with a beat for it. And the movie Maniac came into it because they were trying to write lyrics and they had rented the film Maniac. So it helped them. It helped them come up with some more of the lyrics. And then at the end of it, they actually play on the piano and they actually sing a little bit of those original lyrics, which it's pretty funny. I explained it half-assedly, but if you ever listen to that feature, it's a very interesting story. And then on disc 2, you have trailers, TV spots. You have a promo reel for Mr. Robbie, Maniac 2, because Joe Spinell had wanted to do Maniac 2. It was called Maniac 2, but it had nothing to do with the first one. It was about a guy who was like the host of a kids show, but he would get these letters from these kids whose parents were abusing them. And so in his own twisted way, he decided to take revenge on the parents who are abusing their kids. Which actually, I think that's an interesting idea, that you have a children's TV show host getting letters from abused kids saying, I'm being abused by my mom, my dad, and the guy takes revenge, like avenges those kids. I think that's an interesting idea. I really do. But it didn't get made because he tried to get financed, and then when they did get financed, he passed away, which is too bad. Then you have the Joe Spinell story, which was on the previous DVD. It's about a 50-minute feature on Joe Spinell, how he started off. Very interesting. I don't know if you want to call it a documentary. I mean, it's 50 minutes long, so I guess that could be long enough for a documentary. Very interesting. Very interesting about how Joe Spinell had a friendship with Sylvester Stallone, and the people he hanging out with, some of the films he was on, like The Ninth Configuration, and uh, I think Richard Lynch was on it. Just a lot of people were on there, including William Lustig. About at the end, he when his mom passed away, he kind of went into a thick depression, and unfortunately, his when he passed away. Very interesting feature. And then you have two sections, Maniac Publicity and Maniac Controversy, which is new to this. Maniac Publicity is basically a bunch of like radio spots. A radio spot, a bunch of TV interviews that they did for the promotion of the film. Like they had a new Q&A, which had some funny stuff in it. Like the guy who built the apartment thought he was building an actual apartment, so it was to a point where the guy was actually going to put in plumbing. And apparently that guy had actually previously worked at S&M Club, and he actually built stuff there. It was like an S&M Club, like literally you walked in and you rubbed your feet on someone. Like it was such a crazy time, I guess, in the New York in the 80s. New York. The fucking crazy fucks. But you did a lot of fun little stuff in that. There's one Monster Madness or something. This is like a really local cable station, I guess, in New York. It's shown in black and white, and it was probably the longest interview of all these, but it's kind of uncomfortable to watch because it seemed like they didn't know what they were doing. I guess it was filmed live, and they weren't ready to take phones, and then sometimes they take phones, you have that weird static, that weird static, not static, but like, you pick up the phone, and your speaker's too high, and it squeaks, and people would ask questions, and a lot of them had like attitude, and like you could tell that William Lustig seemed like uncomfortable at times, and I wouldn't blame him. Let's see. And William Lustig seems like a very nice guy. That's the thing. William Lustig definitely seems like a nice guy, and I think he really got taken to task. Which some of these other directors today should get taken to task. Like this guy got taken to task. Some of these directors today should get taken to task, to be honest. But how do I say it? What else it was? And then interview with Joe Spinell. And then Maniac Controversy, this was definitely interesting. They gathered a bunch of actual news broadcasts about all the protests when Maniac came out. Very interesting little piece of history. Like they had Gene Siskel about how he walked out 30 minutes into the film, and how they were very much against this. And it's weird because they always talk about how women are getting killed, but they never talk about how the woman at the end rises up. Think about it, the woman in most of these films at the end. Stop me if I'm wrong. Don't women in most of these, they rise up, they get courage, they get strong, they fight back against the killer and win? But they neglect to say that. They also neglect to say that guys get killed in these movies. Like I said, probably the most violent death in this movie is Tom Savini getting his head blown up. That's probably the most violent scene, is to a guy. There's one movie they showed, Silent Scream. They neglected to mention that the killer, I believe, it was one of those movies, is a woman. Let alone Friday the 13th, the killer is a woman. But they neglect to say that. They neglect to say that shit. They neglect but like a lot of the protests, like there's one, like they would paint over the posters. Weirdly enough, there's like a woman who stood outside talking about, this is a front against women, and I forget which feature was on this. William Lustig mentions, I don't know if it was the commentary or one of the features. I think it was the Q&A. I think it was the Q&A, where she mentions that one of the women who said, we're dancers, how dare they, treat women like this? This woman would later on be accused of murder. Like, she was accomplice to murder. And that the event had happened before that woman protested this movie. So you have a real woman who was accomplice to murder, and she might be one of the women on here in the controversy. One of the women who are out there saying, "Oh, I'm like, how ironic is that shit?" It's like, lady, you helped commit murder in real life, and you're condemning a movie. Talk about trying to, oh shit, I better do this. That way they'll never suspect me. Fucking shit. Like, one story I really like that's on the commentary is that how, they didn't have much of a budget, and something about how SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, you're not allowed, you have to pay them a certain amount of money. Otherwise, they can't work on the film. And Joe Spinel was a guy who was with SAG. And it's like, okay, if you do a movie, you have to, it's unions, and you have to pay this certain amount, and it's a certain amount they couldn't afford. But you can get away with it if your film is an X-rated movie. And usually that's for, like, porn. So basically they apparently sent the MPA the script, and they said no. Which I'm like, really? MPA changed drastically from the 80s, I guess. So then they decided to take the script and they just added stuff that would never be filmed. So they added Joe Spinell, biting off the clit, and all this crazy shit they were never going to film, never did you film, just to let the MPA read and go, this, would be getting an X rating. And they go, okay, and they could film it. And then I guess when the MPA found out that they didn't do all that, they said, oh, you pull a fast one. And William Lustig is like, what are you talking about? It says no one under 17 can be admitted. And then they hung up on Bill Lustig, so I like the fact that Bill Lustig fucked over the MPAA. Anyone who fucks over the MPAA is nice in my book. Well, almost anybody. But I don't know, the backstory to this film is very interesting to me. Low budget filmmaking. And I'm not sure what more I can say. I mean, it's 28 minutes into this. But Maniac, the film is very straightforward. It is what it is. It's Joe Spinell, who's crazy, probably abused kid from his mother. I mean, like I repeated before. But I like Joe Spinell's performance. I like the atmosphere and dread. And this film, some films, each film is their own. This one I could deal with it. The atmosphere I thought was dark. It's definitely a disturbing film. I think it's definitely in retrospect, when you look at films like Martyrs, a Serbian film, Inside, other films, you can deal with this film more. That's what it seems like. This film could be dealt more, I think, today. Even though I'm sure there's still people who just outright despise it, and it's like, okay. But, yeah. Some of the most unprecedented, graphically detailed depictions of violence ever put before a viewing audience, says Rue Morgan. That is a case to it. But Blue Underground, they always do good with their DVDs. I had the DVD, the Maniac Cop, and I swear to God, I don't know where it went. I don't know where it went. So I'm going to have to pick that up again with the features, damn it. I don't know why I brought that up, but because they had good features too, and the Blue Underground, William Lustig, they usually pull off really good features. But I like the film. Can't say it's fun. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable, but I like the film. I just do. I definitely like the backstory. I like the history behind it. Really good features on this 30th anniversary. And a great poster as well. And one last thing is, of course, there is a remake coming out of this film with Elijah Wood as, I guess they're going to call him Frank Zito, which, I don't know, I don't buy Elijah Wood as a Frank Zito. To be honest, I don't buy a Maniac remake. I think it's very stupid. I think it's very dumb. I think it's very lame. Take the idea for Maniac 2, like I said, with the kids, TV show host who avenges kids who write to him that their parents are abusing them, and make that into a movie. I think that'd be interesting. I don't know who would cast as a children's TV show host. Um, why is it for a second there I thought of Pee Wee Herman? Be different for Paul Rubens. Wouldn't work, but I could just say he's doing like Pee Wee's Playhouse, and then he gets letters, and like him and his play, you know, his chair and all of his furniture just go out and fuck up all the abusive parents. The word to today is fucked, as in you're fucked. Ah, you know, and the chair eats the abusive parents. That'd be pretty awesome, actually. But anyway, thanks for watching. Oh yeah, the Maniac remake. I wanted to forget it. I already forgot about it. I don't buy Elijah Wood as a serial killer. I'm sorry. Don't tell me. Oh, Sin City. You know what? Sin City. Elijah Wood is not in it that much, and he's in it for a little bit. He doesn't have to carry the film. You didn't go see Sin City to see Elijah Wood. If you did, fine, but most people didn't. They saw for all the stories of Mickey Rourke and Bruce Willis and Robert Rodriguez, Frank Miller, the style of the film. It's over the top, comic book, and you're like, why remake Maniac? Why? This is money, bitches. But I don't buy Elijah Wood as a serial killer. I don't care if you're a fan of Frodo. That's fine, but I think of him as Frodo. I don't think of him as scary or disturbing. And then they said, "Oh, it's going to be shot in POV." Okay, so it's not a found footage film, but it's what, from his eyes. So I guess, like, really, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the violence and gore. It's definitely not going to have the mood. Elijah Wood is no Joe Spinell. He's not. Elijah Wood, I'm sorry, I can't take him seriously as a psychopathic serial killer. Oh, but he was in Sin City again. Whoop-de-doo. He didn't say anything. He didn't carry the film. He was in it for, what, 5 minutes total screen time? And Mickey Rourke fucked him up, like, pretty hardcore and fast. He got a little bit in edgewise, but Mickey Rourke just fucked him up, and like, there was no acting. He just, he was in it for 5 minutes. He looked, and then got killed by Mickey Rourke. That doesn't carry a movie like Joe Spinell did. This poster is going to be more scarier than the fucking remake. I guarantee it. So a remake of Maniac is very stupid. Very stupid. Elijah Wood. I don't know, man. Why? Just why? Fuck. But anyway, that's how it goes. I think it'd be funny if Sylvester Stallone playing Frank Zito. Wouldn't that be interesting? Stallone doing he's a New York. He could be a New Yorker. Imagine him being a serial killer. Stallone is the Maniac. That'd be interesting. I would actually like to see that. Because, the only time he played a bad guy was Spy Kids 3D. But I would like to see that. Since he used to know Joe Spinell, he used to be friends with Joe Spinell. There's a picture that I can't find anywhere, but apparently there's a picture that Stallone wore a t-shirt with this on there. I could never find that picture anywhere, but apparently Stallone had the... There was a picture of Stallone wearing the Maniac t-shirt, which I thought was very fucking cool. I wish I could find that picture. I could never find that picture, but that was very cool. Because he was friends with Joe Spinell. But yeah, I would rather see an older Stallone as the Maniac than Elijah Wood. That'd be pretty fun, actually. That'd be pretty cool. It'd be like Arnold had Terminator, Stallone is the Maniac. Then you could do the Maniac versus the Terminator. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. And see you later. And remember, don't go out tonight. Otherwise, you'll lose a blowjob.